Hello, welcome to season 2 of the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast. Oh my goodness, we are in 2026 and I have never been more ready for this year. Oh my gosh, the year of the fire horse. Well, welcome before we get too far ahead. Welcome to the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast, a sacred space created for awesome souls who have spent years caring, giving, leading, and holding it all together, and are now feeling the quiet call to return to themselves. However, that call may be just getting a little louder this year. I'm Justina. I'm a Reiki master teacher, healer, nurse for over 20 years, transformational speaker, retreat leader, workshop leader, and this podcast is an invitation to you to allow your inner soul to slow down, soften, receive, and remember who you are beneath those roles and responsibilities and expectations that you've been carrying, but also to ignite the fire within you, to remind you how awesome you are. I'm so happy you're here. So here we talk about real healing, not the bypassing kind, but the kind that meets you exactly where you are. We explore energy, spirituality, emotional release, nervous system regulation, divine support, and what it truly means to live in alignment with your soul while navigating this crazy real life, right? So you'll hear heartfelt conversations, intuitive teachings, gentle practices, and soul-led interviews. They're all designed to help you clear energetic blocks, reconnect with your inner wisdom, and reclaim your vitality without guilt or burnout. Right? Like we are done. We are done messing around. I am so fired up about this year of 2026 and I cannot wait to hang with you this year. So thank you so much for being here. This is the place where you don't have to have it all figured out, but it is the place where your strength is remembered, your light is reawakened. And if this resonates with you, I would love for you to follow the show. Please leave a review. It helps the message reach so many more individuals that need it at this time. You can also visit my website at angelreikijourney.com, scroll to the bottom, sign up for the newsletter to receive soulful updates, upcoming offers, gentle reminders that you are never alone in this path. Come connect with me on Instagram at Angel Reiki Journey and join the conversation, or you can find me on LinkedIn where I share reflections, teachings, and ways to bring this work into your life and leadership. You weren't ever meant to do this alone. You belong here. And I'm so glad you are here. So take a breath and welcome to the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast. Disclaimer, you should always check in with your physician, your psychiatrist, your counselor, or anyone else assisting in your care prior to deciding that you would like to take any of the recommendations, the suggestions, and our thoughts on any of the subjects that we discuss in the podcast. Thank you so much. Hello. Welcome back to the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast, where we gather as women walking the sacred path of healing, awakening, and remembering who we truly are. I'm your host, Justina Sharp, and as always, I'm so grateful you're here sharing this space with us today. One of the things I hear most often from women is that they feel alone. They may be surrounded by people, they may be surrounded by things, they may be surrounded by animals, yet they still somehow feel disconnected. They're longing for genuine friendships, deeper conversations, meaningful experiences, and a community where they can simply be themselves. Today's guest has made it her mission to create exactly that, and she so has. Joining us today is Lindsay Levine, owner of the Beauty Boost Asheville, a vibrant community dedicated to helping women feel empowered, healthy, connected, and beautiful from the inside out. Through her fitness events, workshops, social gatherings, and experiences, these women are able to come together. Lindsay creates spaces where women can belong before they feel ready, connect before they feel confident, and grow alongside other incredible women. But behind her passion for community is a powerful personal journey of healing. Lindsay's path of self-discovery deepened when she chose sobriety in 2021, not because she hit rock bottom, but because she realized alcohol was no longer serving the woman that she was becoming. That decision opened the door to profound healing, self-awareness, shadow work, and the courage to face deep wounds, including navigating a difficult situation with her mother, relationship, and choosing a path that honored her peace. Today, we're talking about sobriety, healing, spirituality, worthiness, entrepreneurship, community, and how sometimes the bravest thing we can do is fully become ourselves. Lindsay, welcome to the Sacred Soul Sisters. We're so honored to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was very beautiful, all that you said. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I want to give everybody a little bit of a background. So, as most of you know, I've mentioned about 900 times on the podcast how much I love Asheville, North Carolina, and how it has some of the most beautiful energy known to man. So, I follow a ton of people in Asheville, and just because I want every little piece of me to feel like sort of there, right? And one of the amazing people that I came across was Lindsay. And I've been watching her Instagram for a while and these Beauty Boost events that we'll discuss more as we go on. And there's so much that ignited within me. I was just, oh my gosh, you guys know I'm all about community and building communities and all these different places that we can and really letting people feel seen. And that's exactly what she's doing. It is absolutely beautiful. So I reached out to her on Instagram and I'm so grateful she responded and so grateful that she's here. So, Lindsay, before we talk about the Beauty Boost, I'd love to start with your personal story. You often speak about, your journey beginning when you decided to stop drinking in 2021. What was happening in your life at that time that assisted you in making that decision? Can you tell us a little more?
Yes, I would say I had been sober curious for probably about a year and a half to 2 years, where being sober curious, I was like, can you have fun without drinking? Will you still be invited? All of the inclusivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know anybody that was sober just because they chose to be. It was typically because they struggled with addiction, which does run in my family. Um, my father I grew up with an alcoholic father who has been sober now for 15 years. And many other of my family members gone through like the AA sobriety. I just never resonated with that because I could have just a drink or, it wasn't as much of an addiction issue, but I realized it wasn't serving me. Sometimes the people that I'd find myself around in social gatherings, certainly nothing against these people. They just weren't on the path to doing the things that I desired to do and going where I desired to go. Right. So I kind of found myself outgrowing social circles, which can make you feel very alienated. And like nobody relates to you that you're around. And then also, I would say I was, for myself, even after a couple glasses of wine the next day, I would get a headache and, just think, oh gosh, I would be irritable. I would move slower, and I'm a busy mom and wife and, of course, work. So I just hated that feeling as well and was very just like, what would it be like to quit drinking, So that kind of started my curiosity of that journey. And then the universe dropped a very wonderful, beautiful soul into my lap, who was introduced from a mutual friend. And in short, this person, who's now my best friend, was moving here to Asheville, and a mutual friend introduced us. Oh, you're moving to Asheville. You got to meet Lindsay. And this girl was sober. And so our friendship blossomed. And it and I finally, as months went on and we started hanging out more and more, I just was able to ask all the questions that you might have about sobriety and, can you still have fun? And I'll just, what is it like? And, to be the only sober one in the group and, most of the time, whatever. So I just was grateful that the universe, by no surprise, by true like divine orchestration, sprinkled this amazing woman into my lap. And here we are 5.5 years later, booze free.
Oh, congratulations on that. I think that alcoholism is something so prevalent. My father was also an alcoholic, definitely runs in my family. Of course, I see it all of the time in my nursing world as well. And it's not an easy thing to transition away from when it's something you're so familiar with. There's a situation I talked about in a previous episode, and spirits just kind of bring it back to the forefront. There was a lady in a class that I was in. I was in a sound healing class, and spirit kept saying, I need you to talk to her. I need you to talk to her. I need you to tell her about Reiki and see if she would come to a session. And I'm like, that's kind of bizarre. I don't know this lady. Like, I'm not some used car salesman. No, I'm not going over to tell her she needs a session. After I got done arguing, I finally did. Hello, hello, hello. Can you believe we are almost halfway through 2026? Oh my gosh, this year has just been flying by. Guess what? I have something exciting to tell you. So I have been asked multiple times if I would teach Reiki online. And I will be officially teaching my first online time in July of this year. So July 24th and 25th, if you are interested in getting certified in Usui Holy Fire, level 1 and 2, please look into this. My link will be in the show notes. It should also be in my Instagram bio and then on my website. I cannot wait to meet you. It will be amazing. It's 2 whole days. We get to go through some deep, deep healing as we get these amazing certifications, and you get to feel the Reiki energy within you, around you. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And if you prefer to do the traditional route of in-person, that's still available as well. I will be teaching another in-person level 1 and 2 in August. So August 22nd and 23rd. So real quick again, if you want to do the online course, it's July 24th and 25th, 2026. If you want to do in person, August 22nd and 23rd, 2026. All right. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay. Now back to the episode. And I was led to do that session for free. And I said, listen, you don't have to do this. I said, I'm just being guided to tell you if at all possible. Well, she did end up coming in the very next day. I rearranged my schedule so she'd come in, and, we do the session. At the end of the session, she sits up and she says, I've been an alcoholic for 20 years, and I made the decision to stop, but it's so overwhelming right now. I didn't know all that I wasn't feeling. Mm-hmm. And I also had a plan to take my life. I had made arrangements in a backward sort of way to make sure my kids would be taken care of. I knew the method, and it was going to take place today.
My gosh.
And she said, but I decided not to now. And oh my gosh. And I say this for a couple different reasons. The first one is, if you're nudged to do something, there's a reason you're nudged to do it, right? To follow through with that guidance. And the other part of it is that it brought so much more awareness to me. I think in a logical sense, we know that, alcohol and drugs and things like that can numb us. But what we don't think about is the intensity that happens once the numbing stops. She talked about how she felt things that she doesn't even remember feeling before. And it was so big and so overwhelming. And we ended up working together for a couple months, and it was great. And she's doing phenomenal. She's still alcohol free and everything. But I think that it's so important to talk about that. And do you feel like you noticed any of that?
Oh, absolutely. It can be debilitating. The feelings, even like sensations in your body, right? Because you're just so checked outside of yourself. And I don't think people realize, we've normalized extreme alcohol consumption. I'm also in the service industry, right? So I wait tables, 4 to 5 days a week. And I've been in that industry for 23 years. And it is wild to see. And I don't say it with judgment. It's
Right.
actually really sad how we've normalized a bottle of wine to share and a cocktail just at dinner. And in that, again, this is nothing against individuals. They're walking right out feeling completely fine.
Right.
Just with that amount of alcohol, and then potentially maybe they're calling it a night, but maybe they're going out for a nightcap. And so I just see it. You see so many things so much more clearly. But I also understand, why people don't want to do it, because it can be extremely painful. For myself, I don't go to talk therapy. I never have. And certainly nothing against talk therapy. It just never really called to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely my spirituality changed a lot. My connection to source, that definitely just really became very beautiful along the way of the sobriety, but definitely feeling everything. I 1,000,000% get why people don't do it. Although I will say sobriety was the best gift I've ever given myself in my life and in my family and my friends and my community, because who I became out of it is I could have never have guessed, So yes, painful, but I think something to remember. And I think this can be really hard for some people. For me, being raised in like extreme religion, it's very like black and white when you're raised like that,
Mm-hmm.
versus as I've deconstructed from religion and become spiritual, I realized two things can be true. This can be painful and also beautiful, right? And that's really understanding like how to alchemize things and the beauty of getting to alchemize things and feeling the pain
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
then processing through it and allowing yourself.
Mm.
That's where the confidence is built in life. I hear it all the time. Oh my gosh, you're so confident because I do hard things, and
Yeah,
that's
it wasn't
just,
like
I
all of a
do
sudden I
really
woke up
hard
and I'm
things.
like, "Ooh, I'm confident. Everything's perfect." It was a lot of
Exactly. It's
grumbling.
brick by brick. It is brick by brick. And it's a lot of the messy. And, people see a lot of highlight reels of
Mm-hmm.
just people's, oh, now her life is great or whatever. We still have trials and tribulations, but you deal with pain a lot differently and it's a lot easier to navigate. After you get over the hump, it
Sure.
takes a while, but I'm convinced in life that I can do anything
Mm.
because of going through this and allowing myself to feel fully alive. And also like what a privilege. I think about it all the time. I literally feel fully alive all the time.
Yes.
Like what a privilege.
Yes. I just had this conversation with somebody actually this morning. Um, and we were talking about, how a lot of people sort of say things off the cuff, like, maybe to single people, they might be like, "Oh, so are you getting married? Like, did you find someone? Like, you're going to have kids? Like, what are you doing? Or, oh, so you didn't do that? Okay. Well, like, do you have a good job? Are you looking for a good job? Like, and, and we really have to remember that not everybody has been able to have the awakening experience yet. And that sometimes, you get so caught in your robotic sort of life and you go through the motions and what you do in your life, you kind of feel like is what everybody does, right? And okay, well, you get married and you have kids and you have a house and you go to work and you work 9 to 5 and you make sure you brush your hair before you go to work and you and you just wash, rinse, repeat, over and over. And that's something I said to her today. I said, something that has become very prevalent in my awareness these last couple of years, especially, is I'm living. I'm fully living. I'm not hiding anymore. I spent most of my life hiding. I've been a Reiki practitioner and a nurse for 20 plus years, but it was like the Reiki part of it was always under the table. People in the back of churches, it looked like I'm doing a freaking drug deal because they're asking me for my number. And because I was so fearful of what others would think. And so fearful. And once you're able to break through that process, once you do so much inner healing, because so much of it is stuff that we just haven't worked on yet, the more and more you do, the more and more room you have for the light to come in and for the light to shine out of you. Right. So it's so beautiful. I love hearing your journey with that. And I love your honesty and vulnerability, which was also not an easy thing for me to do for a long time.
Of course.
One thing that you've said before is, healing is like peeling an onion, which I so feel like, but many of the women that are listening are navigating so many family wounds, right? And you had a little bit of struggle with your mother and things like that, making some difficult decisions in your life. And can you expand on that? Like, peeling back the onion, what happened with your mom, that kind of thing.
Yes. So my mom is a narcissist, and I didn't connect those dots until my adult life, right? Like, you only know what you know, and you're in kind of your bubble as a child more so than ever. I know you were saying just a minute ago how we kind of like think our day to day is everybody's day to day, but more so when you're a child, right? Because you truly don't know. So, yes, I adored my mother because she was my mother, but there was a lot of things there, and we don't mean to. This is nothing against her. I think it was all
absolutely
designed perfectly, and I chose into this. But being raised by a narcissist, I had no idea she was a narcissist until, gosh, maybe my early 20s, and so I was raised by my mother and stepfather, who raised me together in their home with my sister. And it was really interesting because my mom would always say, "You'll never understand how much I love you until you have a child of your own." And then I did have a child of my own. I was a younger mom. I had my daughter 11 days before I turned 23. And I love her so much. And that's really when I think things started to connect. I was like, whoa, this is a very different kind of love than the love from my mother, which is very conditional, extremely conditional.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. I said, okay, sorry. Yes, I got a soft spot for the 90s. Yes, I am, crossed over to the later 40s. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I have the best announcement. I am so freaking excited, you guys. There is a retreat coming that, Spirit has completely created, set up the entire thing, lined up all of the most amazing people. And oh my gosh, this is the biggest retreat I've ever done. There will be room for 50 participants. It is in Bend, Oregon. You guys, when Spirit first started bringing this in, they kept starting with the word bend. And I'm like, what? You want me to bend? Well, I don't get it. And then after that, then they put Bend with Oregon, right? And I'm like, Bend, Oregon? There's not a thing called Bend, Oregon. Like, really? Is there like a stand-up Oregon? Like, anyway, because I'm kind of a brat sometimes. But I was like, no way, right? And then that very week, a million people, what it felt like, okay, it was like 3, came up and was like, hey, have you ever been to Bend, Oregon? I don't know why, but it feels like I need to, just kind of mention it to you. And I was like, holy crap, that is a place. And then come to find out, I have a friend that actually lives there and went this past March. And you guys, Spirit works at the land of different places and has this way of making communities happen. And oh my gosh, these healing experiences that take place. This is how it happened in San Francisco too. And I mean, like I've got a local retreat happening this November. Oh, there's like one spot left for that, just FYI. And then, and now with Ben, and then there's a couple other places in the works that Spirit's working on too. And I'm just blown away, but I'm so freaking excited. This retreat is called Unbound. You guys, this is all about what Spirit is trying to guide each and every one of us to do, like to truly be our authentic selves and release all this crap that like comes on us, all these things that we almost create ourselves by holding ourselves back. Like, no more, no more. Just like my theme of 2026 and my intro, like, no more. You guys, I am so ready to see the authentic you completely shine. For more information, go to my website. Click on the big banner at the top. It says join the priority list. And soon, in August, it will have the link to sign up for sure. However, join the priority list first so you can get the first notification when the tickets go on sale. And oh my, you guys, when you click on that, scroll down and see all of the amazing things happening. There's also a few surprises built in that I'm not going to list on there because they're amazing and because I love you guys so much. And every time you invest in yourself, there is magic that comes. I love you. I love you. I love you. I can't wait to see you in Bend. It's April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd of 2027. Again, April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd of 2027 in Bend, Oregon.
In addition to her being a narcissist, throw in just extreme religion. So, very fundamental style religion. And, after having my daughter and really kind of discovering the love and feeling that love in such a different way was when I started to peel back those layers of something isn't adding up, right? So, although at this time, 23 of having my daughter into my late 20s, I was still drinking, not every day, not on a regular basis, but I was a person who consumed alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and certainly when I was drinking wine, I would get sad, but then eventually after another glass of wine, you can just no longer be sad. The mute button is on. So when I quit drinking, which by the way, I didn't realize I would quit drinking. I did a 30 days. I was like, I'm going to go 30 days. Okay. That's what happened. It wasn't, okay, I'm doing this. It was, I'm going to go 30 days and see how I feel. So my sobriety journey was kind of accidental in a sense of, I'm going to go 30 days, see how I feel. And then eventually I felt so amazing. And don't get me wrong, there were still many of
Brutal
temptations and hurdle. Oh, absolutely. I'm not here to glamorize it. It is, it's a very lonely journey, a very lonely journey. Now, I will say my situation's a little different, and my husband's not much of a drinker. His family's, they don't drink, so my husband never drinks at home. So that made it easier not having a spouse at home drinking. Sure. But, you still have your habits. You come home from work, you pour your glass of wine, whatever, those things that we like very much romanticize. So anyway, accidental, I would say sobriety, but turned into the most beautiful thing. But as I started to be more aware of things, I started to realize I need to heal myself. And to just back up slightly, August of 2020 was when I decided to officially, and I didn't know it would be forever, and my relationship with my parents, my mom and stepfather who raised me. Just to connect the dots for those listening, my biological father was the alcoholic. He did not raise me. He was in my life, but my mom and stepfather raised me. Okay. And anyway, it was my mom and stepfather who I just, after a lot of toxicity and whatnot, I just realized there's no them meeting me even an eighth of the way and respecting me and loving me the way that I need. I need to protect my own self mentally and emotionally, and of course my child. So I cut ties with my parents in August of 2020. I would also say that was kind of stirring up the healing process, right? So then February 2021 was really when the sobriety started. And just taking time to journal. And, of course, there's a many different journal prompts you can find with why do I feel this way? How do I feel? Naming how I feel, allowing myself to name how I felt. Being raised in a very religious household, it was always honor your mother and father, honor your mother and father. And for me, I was having the hardest time with this concept with parents who didn't, love and respect me. And now my mom would dare to say she loves me, right? But she loves me as much as a narcissist would allow to love, to her own capability. So just really peeling back, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What is love to me? Then it kind of led to, I would say, a lot of journaling. Then I got into a more of like a mindset program with a coach and mentor. And it was all sorts of different things, anything from, understanding detachment, understanding, oh gosh, that was extremely eye-opening. And this specific course I was in for 2 years you could attribute it to your personal life, your business. It was like you can join this program and every month there's a different theme. And then you can kind of break it down. One of the themes was money. And for me, being, raised in religion, it was the way that my family made me understand it is money is the root of all evil. Money's bad. It's greedy, so
yes.
all of that. So I would also say being in that every month had a different theme program really helped me think deeper. Like, well, is money bad? Like, I know amazing people doing the most incredible things with the money that they have, So again, the two things can be true, really started to open up. And then I would say my healing really started to just get even crazier and deeper. February of 24, I would say November of 23ish, end of 2023, I was just feeling a very unsettling feeling in a sense of it's beautiful to feel this way. It's a nudge from the universe. You're uncomfortable. And if you are aware of things, you're going to connect the dots. And I just kept feeling like there's something for me. There's something for me. And as our analytical mind does, what is it? What are we going to do? What are we, so my analytical brain is going, just trying
900 miles an hour, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just trying to, decide for me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start a deeper level of self-discovery. So February of 2024, which, then was 3 years sobriety. I started my Instagram page, Lindsay Celebrates Life, which was really beautiful because I didn't grow up with holidays. So I didn't grow up celebrating anything. Now I do in my adult life, right? But that I didn't grow up, celebrating holidays and birthdays. So I'm like, I love to celebrate. I want to celebrate anything and everything. Like today is a beautiful day. I woke up, my family is healthy. Let's celebrate, right? So I created this Instagram page and just started posting and chatting. And then I ended up at a networking event for a business. And, all the women there are like, oh, what's your business? And I'm like, I celebrate life. And they're like, oh, and women in Asheville are so nice. Like, it's not,
They're amazing.
women here aren't like, and I don't say this with judgment, but they're just not hoity toity. They're, they're like, she celebrates life. Great. It's very much like come as you are, here, which is great.
Oh.
So I just kept moving forward on this self-discovery and healing and allowing myself to just say, okay, what's next? And then the opportunity to take over the Beauty Boost came into my lap, and I purchased the franchise on 3.5 years sobriety. It was very intentional. And what was really crazy about all of this is I was raised by people, my mom and stepdad, who literally don't believe women should work. They are homemakers. I was raised to be a homemaker. And, my mom always made me feel guilty for working, even though that was the choice. I always wanted to work,
Right.
And be a working mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I bought my business, the night before, my stepfather came to me in a dream, and it was actually like really beautiful because he was sick. He was dying at this time, and I'd still, for my own protection, had to keep a distance. And some people will understand that and some people won't. And I have no need to defend it. And I have such inner peace with my decision. But my stepdad was slowly dying of cancer. And he came to me in a dream the night before I bought my business. And it was just a very quick, thing. But I knew soul to soul that he loved me. He just had a lot of problems and, was just very like indoctrinated by their religion, So it just felt like this really beautiful, like blessing.
Yes.
It was a nice little like sign of like his physical self in the 3D world,
Oh,
I don't want to mock religion, but very brainwashed by the religion that he had. And not to his fault, right? That happens. Mm-hmm. So he came to me in the dream, and it just was this really beautiful, like, this is my 3.5 year sobriety. I am choosing myself. I am, going to choose this business. So that was really beautiful. But then, throughout, I've had my business now almost 2 years, right? But the first year of business was just so wildly eye-opening of mirroring back to you where you need to grow.
It can be.
And you're willing to see it.
Yes, it can be a lot. People, I'm so glad you said that. So often people will be like, oh, you have your own business. Like, it must be great. Like, you just have all this money coming in. You just kind of chill, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, where do you do that at? Because
sign me up. Right.
It reveals a lot about yourself. Whoa. Yeah. I thought I had done a lot of healing, and I have done a lot of healing, but being an entrepreneur, like, whew. Yes, please talk a little bit more about what that means to mirror. Hey, you, got a question. Are you ready to make the journey back to yourself? Are you ready to return to your truth? Okay. Well, I think you're ready to start the new cohort. So, Level 1 Awakening Return to Your Truth is a 3-week intimate group experience for women. Okay. If a quiet shift is happening inside you, you can't go back to who you were and you're not quite sure who you're becoming. Know this. You are not lost. You are awakening, and you don't have to walk this path alone. I'm trying to create something that I would have really, really liked to have back in the day when I went through my first awakening. And to have somebody to remind me I'm not crazy, to remind me I'm safe, to help me support myself in the journey, and to help support me along the way. So again, this isn't about fixing you. It's about remembering who you already are. This is so awesome. But you get to witness, understand what's shifting inside of you, reconnect to your body and feel safe again, navigate emotional and energetic transitions with care, and begin trusting your inner voice and guidance. Let me say that last part again. You will learn to begin to trust your inner voice and guidance. You may still argue with it from time to time, but you will be, oh my gosh, you will be able to start to tell the difference. Is it just mind chatter, or am I actually being guided by my inner voice? So I'm so excited. The link is on the website, right? It will be 3 Wednesdays in a row. So it's a 3-week cohort, July 29th, August 5th, and August 12th. If you're unable to make it, that's fine. There will be a recording. It's from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Only having, very small group we're doing to make sure that we all stay in a safe, sovereign place. So sign up as soon as you can, and I'll see you there.
Yeah. Well, when you're going through emotions, like my first part of business. So I bought the business in August, and then September Hurricane Helene happened. And that we were very fortunate. Our home was spared, but our town was not. Asheville just is so much damage and destruction. And so that was an interesting thing to navigate, and not, I just want to say, like, I know people were navigating much heavier things.
Yes.
We had just taken this chunk out of savings, to buy this business, and then we have no jobs. And then my business promotes, like, I have a boutique marketing on the back end of the Beauty Boost, where I'm like, these businesses either A, don't exist, B, their brick and mortar is gone, or C, like, I can't ask these businesses for money, but this is literally how my business goes.
Right.
And talk about just a need to surrender, of I have to trust the divine timing of this. And
Yes.
naturally, I think anybody that lives here probably went through, do we stay? Do we go? Do one of us go back home to Ohio and work? Do one of us go to, all the thoughts that run through your head because you don't know what's going to happen in life is just wild. But there was definitely a beautiful moment of surrender of like, I have to trust. Now, also, let me say, at this point in my life, I am not necessarily spiritual. Okay. I had a lot of resentment to God because of how I was raised. And it was very, although I will say when I was a kid, I used to tell my mom we believe in different gods, and she would tell me there isn't different gods and, whatever. But I would say we just, it doesn't matter. But theirs was just very like mean and punished and fear. And, I'm like, that is not the God that I believe in. So at this time of this happening, I just knew I needed to kind of surrender, but it wasn't the relationship that I have now with Source, right? So go on to, running the business. And naturally, things kind of turn a corner here. It takes a while, don't get me wrong, but, things are going in the right direction. I'm feeling very aligned. By no surprise, the events are needed more than ever before, right? Community is needed, of course, like just getting together, supporting local businesses more than ever, right? So it was that part was really beautiful. But I'd say 3/4 of the way into the year of this last year, I was very burnt out. And I realized towards the end of the year and doing my year-end reflection, how much of the year I spent hustling, grinding, trying to prove myself. And that was that wound from being raised by a narcissistic mother. Am I good enough now? And yes, my events were wonderful and fun. And please know I have so much fun doing it, but I was exhausted. I was burnt out. I was humbled that I sold out all of my events. And, we're talking larger events up to 150 people every month. So, and different people throughout, each month, you're getting different faces and different women and whatnot. But there was a moment.
Some people have no idea about the amount of work that goes into doing that on the back end, right? Because a lot of times we don't show, okay, well, you don't know about like 11 o'clock at night and I'm, typing this up, or I'm making sure I reply to the email about this person that's going to be there and this person. And there's so many moving parts to these events that go into them. So
Mm-hmm.
I know the events are amazing. I know you enjoyed every piece of it, but just so everyone out there knows that doesn't, have their own business, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that that's the part that sometimes gets hard because we present ourselves as we don't always present ourselves, I mean, as how hard we are on ourselves in addition to everything we have to do, right? And with what happened, the hurricane in Asheville, I mean, like in logical sense, that's so hard to wrap your head around how it hit so badly there to me. But I spent so much time praying for Asheville. And I hope Asheville knows that the whole world, I mean, there were so many people sending love and healing energy to that place because, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't want this to sound wrong, but if it had to happen somewhere, one of the only things I could think about was I would feel so held
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah.
If my house was gone, and I can't say that 100% because my house is still here. I live in Southern Illinois, but there's something so special about the community there and how people rally together. So I'm so glad that not that you had to go through that, but I'm glad that you had the energy of the community around you. I just think that's
Oh,
um,
absolutely. 1,000,000%. It makes me want to live here forever because of that. That was the experience. I mean, everybody just wanted to help each other, but also we did receive so much love and support from all over. I mean, everywhere. So to live through something like that, yes, I know hurricanes are a thing, but I live in the mountains. So
yes.
had you ever told me I would have lived through a hurricane, I would never in my life have believed you, right? So living through something like that changes you in such a way, and it bonds you in an unfortunate, there's trauma bonding with that. But also, like you said, the community is just really, really special. And after, things slightly settled, I held an event called Hope and Healing. And it was just really beautiful. This was a completely free event. Whoever wants to come, and not typically, but with Beauty Boost, it's a women's community. This was come and be and do what you need to do for yourself in this evening. And the event was busy and people were there and people were just like, I just want to be and I want to be together. And it really kind of opened my eyes to no matter what happens, community will always be needed. And I think more and more and more and more and more, obviously we all as a world experienced that with COVID. I would say there were many similarities to COVID and Helene in a sense of we weren't working, right? We had no water here, so we had no power. So that was it felt kind of like COVID and you didn't know when you were going back to work, so there was very similar things and those things bond you. And then, also with AI on the rise even more, I know without a doubt community being in person connection, energetic exchanges
Mm.
is so necessary more than ever before. So that part's been really beautiful to realize, but to circle back to the part of healing of realizing the grind, like you said, there is so much that goes into orchestrating an event with 100 plus women, 25 plus businesses, and curating all of it. And mind you, I do it every month. So I'm always working on 3 events at a time.
Sure.
So at the end of the year, realizing I spent my whole year trying to prove, and it was really interesting because, like I said, and I'm humbled to say that I sold out my events and, grew the business from the previous owner from the years before, which was the goal, right? Like she was wonderful, the previous owner, but she's like, hey, there's a demand to grow this. And I feel like I got it to where I can get it. So, but then at the end of the year, I wasn't happy and I wasn't proud of myself. And thank God for my husband, because he's just such a saint and he just really sees me as I am. And he's like, Lindsay, when are you going to be proud of yourself? And I realized I have the never enough wound from childhood. It's both from a narcissistic mom who raised me of, am I good enough now? Am I good enough now? To the absence of my alcoholic father, of like wishing he would choose me. We were states apart. He was in Wisconsin, where I was originally from. I was raised in Ohio. So what really opened up that part of my healing journey was EFT tapping.
Mm.
And that has been, I think, the most healing, in a sense of almost like, I guess the only way that I can articulate it is, if you want to really heal deeply, and I know there's other modalities that people do other than EFT tapping. I'm not as familiar. I know I have a friend that does, if you know what it's called, it's like with the finger and the eyes and you move and yes. Okay. So I have a friend that does that and that's been very beneficial to them. And I'm sure there are, a lot of different somatic things, right?
Yeah.
So I was always outside of my body, my nervous system.
Which is a defense mechanism too, right?
Oh,
Because that nervous system
absolutely.
in your body. Yeah, me too. I spent most of my life that way.
Yeah, my nervous system was shot. Also, one other thing that was really healing, and then I'll get back to the EFT tapping. I've somehow just remembered about this, but at the end of my very first year in business, I had a session with an intuitive psychotherapist, and it was an energy work session. And she's brilliant. I don't know all the things, but I want to say probably some sort of like kinesiology was involved beyond my comprehension, but I don't know. I just signed up and paid for it, right? Like that's the beauty of it. I don't have to know. So when I had her session, October or November of my first year in business, we started the session. She, asked for permission to tap in, whatever. And within the first 4 minutes, she told me more about myself that I think I knew, but buried, about there was an instance when when I was very young, where my mom was in the hospital. And I remember being there in the hospital with her, but I don't remember a ton. I was like 3-ish. And she said, that is when I attached myself to my mom's energy. And that's when I decided, if my mom is not happy, I can't be happy.
Yeah.
And that's when that happened.
Oh.
And it made sense because that's how I always was. And my mom's a narcissist, so she's never happy, But she went on to say, she told me, and I didn't realize this at the time, that my biological father fought for custody of me at one point, and I had no idea of this, okay? So I would say this must have been, I'm thinking back to the time, probably September or October, at ending of 2024. And that timeline matters because, it was around Helene, but my stepfather actually passed away a week before Helene. And again, I had chosen to keep my distance and, whatever. I sent him him and my mom, a really beautiful letter before he passed. And for myself, I thought it was beautiful. My mom said otherwise, but so I'll share a little bit about that. But I wrote this letter and said, thank you for everything. Thank you for, raising me and providing a roof over our head and food and, whatever. It wasn't a mentally, emotionally, or physically safe home, but, again, my mom I would say narcissism is an illness, and then you add in the wild religion on top of it. So I just needed to send that letter for my own peace, right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, then he ends up passing. I have this energy session, and she goes on to tell me many things, and I'll wrap up this part of it, but she goes on to tell me that my dad had fought for custody, and I had no idea. So we go through this whole session. She gives me a 6-month nervous system reset protocol. And then a couple days later, I, chat with my dad, my biological father. And, we have, I would say, a good relationship. He didn't raise me. He was an alcoholic until, my adult life. So it's not a super deep relationship, but he comes to visit me here. We chat on the phone, whatever. But then my dad did open up. He said, yes, I did try to get custody of you. And I had no idea my whole life that my dad wanted me.
Yeah.
I had no idea until I was 36 or 37 years old, that he wanted me. And that was really eye-opening as well, So I would say between the nervous system reset, which this, was just really eye-opening of this practitioner, I guess is probably what you'd call her. She goes through and depending on what's going on in you and your energy field and all of the things, she gives you a nervous system protocol. And one of my protocols was to go horseback riding because of my need for control. And I didn't realize I had a need for control because I only know what I know, and it's normal. Right?
I know. I get you. Yes.
Until I realized, oh my gosh, my need for control. But my upbringing was so unpredictable.
Sure.
That, that's something I always felt like. And, my husband's probably let me know along the way, he and I have been together, gosh.
It may have come up a time or two.
It's probably come up along the way,
Right.
But maybe I just normalized it, my need for control. Sure. So yeah, doing the nervous system protocol was really beautiful. And like I said, it was a 6-month protocol. And in that protocol as well, another one of my healing things, I guess you could say, this was really beautiful. So somehow she knew, the things she knew, I just thought was wild. She knew we weren't allowed to have treats at my house. Okay. My parents were very, we didn't have processed food and stuff in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had a weird, relationship with stuff like that. Oh, that's not healthy, kind of crunchy, whatever. It took me a while to get out of that. And just also, as much as I might be mindful of what I eat, I can still you can still live. Again, two things can be true, right? Mm-hmm. It was very black and white growing up. So part of this protocol was, she knew I was married. She was like, if this feels safe to you, what would be best is once a week, if your husband gets you a dessert and blindfolds you and he feeds you and you just sit there and enjoy the feeling, the taste in your mouth, the texture, the smell, eyes closed, but also even more importantly, not having to earn the treat, because I had to earn everything because my mom was a narcissist, right? So everything was okay, am I good enough now? Okay, yes. Okay, now you can, because you did this for me, now you can have this, right? That's just what it's like to live there. So it was great because my husband works at a restaurant. He's also in hospitality like me. And he works at a restaurant with really good desserts, layers and textures and flavors. So that was really just beautiful to go through that part of the protocol too, of I didn't have to earn this. I can just have this and somebody can give it to me and I can just receive it, So that was also, really, really beautiful too with that. I mean, there was many other things, but, going kind of back to the timeline, that was September, October of 2024. Then we had the last year was my first full year in business. And, or excuse me, that was September, October 2025, which was the ending of my first full year in business. And then I kind of got into the EFT tapping, and specifically the EFT tapping that I got into was just so amazing. I've done some, I would say surface level EFT tapping on either YouTube or TikTok, but
Mm-hmm.
the program that I was in by Haley Hoffman Smith, she's like very big on Instagram, and she also has a podcast. But she has a program called Dream Away, and she basically brings you really deep into like, okay, we're going to journal. It has a theme, right? And then we're going to journal about why do you feel money is evil? I'm just going to kind of make this up as I go.
Sure.
So then you start journaling, and then she pulls you into a deeper. And then by the fourth, moment of journaling, you're like, okay, now this is where the wound is. It kind of comes up. And then she brings you into the EFT tapping with a lot of distractions intentionally to just like, change all of the neural pathways. And that is really, I will say, when I started to actually physically feel things more. Like I never felt anything in my body and as much as I did until EFT tapping, because I allowed myself to be in my body. I was always in my head.
Sure.
I was always in my head.
Wow. That sounds like an absolutely beautiful program. And I know a lot of people that have been able to benefit from EFT, that it's really helped them to kind of rewire their system as well. So I love to hear that. Can you tell me a little bit about how you first heard of Beauty Boost and what sparked inside of you that you felt drawn to it?
Yes. So the Beauty Boost as a whole, like I said, is a nationwide business in 35 cities plus nationwide. Asheville was the fourth city 6 years ago. It's originally from Columbus, Ohio, which is actually where I moved here from. And
Wow.
I wasn't involved in Columbus. It's been around in Columbus 13 years, I believe, this year, 12 or 13 years. But coincidentally, I wasn't involved in Columbus. And I would say probably 2022, I heard about an event, maybe on Eventbrite or Facebook, and just reading the description of the event, I was like, oh, I want to go to this event. This sounds
Mhm.
fun. And
Mhm.
I've thought back many a times, like, which one was my first event? Because once I went to one, I was hooked with the concept of connecting women and then connecting them to local businesses. Like, how cool.
Yes.
And after I went to one and then, another, it was like, oh, this is just a very like, and Asheville is just very chill, like it's just a very chill area. So I was like, oh, this is just a very fun thing to do. Well, then I connected with the previous owner, and there's an ambassador team that helps out like behind the scenes. And she's like, you should join the ambassador team. And at the time, I was managing a restaurant, and I
Mhm.
was like, oh my gosh, I'm very busy. The thought of like adding anything else to my plate sounds
Sure.
very hard. But I did start going to some of the ambassador meetups. So I was like still kind of helping out behind the scenes and in a little bit deeper, I would say, than just an attendee. And then she and I collaborated, and she hosted an event on our rooftop at the restaurant that I was managing at the time.
Wow.
And then also, if you follow my Instagram page, Lindsay Celebrates Life, I put out these little cards. I try to leave 3 to 5 out a day. They all say, you're worthy, you matter, many of just you belong, all sorts of different phrases, which was something I started doing in February of 2022 when I was really on that I'm on to something, but I don't know what, and Lindsay Celebrates Life journey. So I've left thousands of cards out all over the US now. And if you go to my Instagram, you can see all my little cards because I have them in the highlight bubbles. But on the back of my Instagram, or excuse me, on the back of my card, I also have my Instagram on there. So people will send me messages when they find them, which has been really,
Love
really beautiful. So Rachel, the previous owner, said, why don't you do a booth with your cards at one of the events? And I was like, okay, well, she had asked me, I would say probably 3 or 4 days before an event one time. And I was almost like, looking back, I was so glad that it was such little time, because I didn't have time to overthink it. You know what I mean? We overthink so many things.
We waste a lot of energy.
We do. Oh my gosh. She said, hey, I have a spot open up. The event's in, 3 or 4 days. Do you want to set up a table? And I literally printed, just at home on a printer, not through Canva, just on Word document, DIY self-love affirmation card station. And this specific event was what we call Galentine's event, Galentine's Glam and Glow. So it's very much like come and get pampered, hang out with the girls, girls night out like in your PJs, and just, there's a lot of spa and wellness businesses there doing little mini sessions of, like a mini facial or a mini hand massage or whatever. So it's like, come and pamper yourself, treat yourself, which for a lot of women is sometimes the only time they're going to do that. Right. Well, very similarly to your story with the gal that, you were called to give Reiki to, who had told you she was gonna, end life. I had a gal sit down with me. Now I'm an empath, and people just tell me things, if you're an empath, like people tell you things, it is people just open up to you. Right. So a gal sits down and she's like, oh, what's your business? And I was like, oh, this isn't a business. This is my passion project. Would you like to make a little like a self-love affirmation? And she sat there, and it was just her and I at the table. And I'm like, I was telling the women, if they came over to my table, I'm like, I can move, or you can, but I love to chat with people. And they're like, oh no, you can stay. Well, she started to write something, and then she started to cry. And she said, I almost didn't come to this event. I did call the suicide hotline today. And, naturally being the empath, like I then take on that energy, which is something I'm learning to set boundaries with energies with that, because it can be very overwhelming, but it can also be really beautiful to hold that space, for somebody, because I can imagine they probably didn't tell their friends and family that, so you're kind of like this duality of like, thank you for sharing with me, of like, that is so vulnerable, So we talked, about a lot of things. There was a lot of hugs, there was a lot of tears, and it was, of course, like just an opportunity for me to speak so much life into her and, remind her of her just power, but also just like how needed she is in the world and her own essence. And, you have a mission here, and, but also just hold space for her to just exist in the moment of still being here, not trying to solve a problem, because it's not mine to solve. And in a beautiful way of like, we don't have to like have answers right now. Let's just hold space that you're still here. Right.
Yeah.
So I am still connected to this person on social media. They moved away, I believe, after the storm, but I believe she's been back. So we've kept in touch. That was really, really, really beautiful. And, then other women would come to the table, and it was actually so unfortunately sad. And I don't say it with judgment.
No,
how many women had problems, they couldn't write themselves a love note.
Yeah.
They couldn't. They're like, can I make one for a friend? And I'm like, write yourself something that you need to hear. Do you need me to suggest something? And I had I had some of the cards on the table that I write out for people. And disclaimer, people are like, how do you know what to write? It's what I need to hear. Life is a mirror, right? So when I write you belong, it's because there's a part of me who didn't feel like she belonged, for many reasons of my upbringing. So, I'm like, it just was wild to me to see how many women struggled with writing themselves the note. Oh, so that was my first event as with my passion project. And then I was brought on to do a couple more events. And this was what really was the turning point with me with the Beauty Boost, still not knowing the business opportunity would be there eventually. By my third event, the women were looking for me. They're like, Lindsay, we were hoping you would be there. Or they were coming, and this one woman, oh my gosh, we're still friends. She still comes to my events. I don't know. I'm not going to say names because, like, I don't know who will listen to this, but if she listens somehow, she'll know who she is. She comes to my table. This is the third event I do at the Beauty Boost. She comes to my table and she said, Lindsay, I put a note on my mirror about loving myself and deserving love. And it's been 3 months and I'm in this relationship, and it's, it's been a couple months into this relationship, and like, this man is so good to me. But she's like, every day when I brushed my teeth in the morning and in the evening, I would say this to myself, and I would allow myself to feel deserving of the love.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm just like, this is so powerful, just for some reason in life, I'm sure it's just conditioning. We feel like we need permission to do anything and everything, especially as women. But, kind of, I was giving these women permission to pour into themselves, to remind themselves X, Y, and Z. And, gosh, the stories I would hear, and I put it in my car, and I would just say to myself, I expect miracles, or whatever it is. And I drive around and I'm like, I've had this whole different, people are in a different vibration when they have these little note cards,
Yeah.
So that was really, really powerful. I saw how powerful these cards are. And then in addition, like I said, on the back of them, I put my Instagram on them. So I receive a lot of messages from people, a lot of messages from people, this found me at the right time. And I always trust that it will. But circling back to how Beauty Boost became mine, I got to see all the different parts of the business, right? From being involved.
Yeah.
And then when the previous owner decided she was stepping down, her and her husband bought a house, like 45 minutes plus away. Her kiddos were young. My daughter was getting older. My daughter's a sophomore in high school now. So I was at a different stage in parenting when the business opportunity came. So she said, hey, there's going to be an announcement in a week or two that the Beauty Boost it's looking for a new city owner. But I wanted to tell you before the announcement in case it's something, you want to consider. So, and it was crazy because, but crazy, but not. Let me also say, this is just how the universe works.
Yes.
About maybe March, I want to say, March of that year of my self-discovery, I took a marketing class. Okay. This marketing class was $3,000. Now, to some, that's a lot. To some, it's not. That whether that's a lot to me or not doesn't matter. But what mattered is it didn't make sense. So this marketing class comes up, and my intuition was so loud. Take this class, take this class, take this class. And it was, I think, like a 3 or 4 month long, you log on, you do this stuff, you learn about social media. There's so much of it with marketing. And I'm like, I don't know why, but this is so loud. Okay, I'm going to take this class.
Wow.
Well, then when the Beauty Boost opportunity comes, Beauty Boost has what we call boutique marketing, because we also have digital marketing with our Instagram and our email and our app. And so when the opportunity came, I'm like, I just took a marketing class, and then I kind of started to connect to the dots of, and then, and in that, and in all of entrepreneurship, my connection to source has just grown exponentially. And there's no longer, I think I had to separate the religion from spirituality, and whatever that looks like. It's an individual journey and whatever. But once I was really able to separate that and realize like the divine orchestration and things and how beautiful it is, then you kind of look at your whole life. And don't get me wrong, trials and tribulations, yes. But at the end of the day, I can truly say everything has always worked out for me. And again, hardships along the way, lessons along the way, yes, but it's how you look at it, you know?
100%. Yeah.
So when that opportunity came, right before that dropped into my lap, there was an opportunity to work deeper with this marketing coach and create my own brand and create, whatever. And it was a pretty hefty investment. And I'd spoken with my husband about it, who knew I was on to something.
Sure.
And he's like, does this feel like it for you? And I think I was just looking for something. And I was like, I'm not exactly sure, but it's an opportunity to like essentially have a one-on-one coach, whatever. And a pretty solid investment. And he's like, Lindsay, I know you, and I didn't seem all in, so to speak. And I kind of adopted the term from a coach and mentor who I was in her like monthly programs, this or something better. So when I decided, okay, maybe working with that coach one-on-one, I'm like creating my own brand, but I don't know what that is,
Right.
isn't it? And then maybe a month later was when the Beauty Boost opportunity came. And it was, do you want to take over, the city and become the new city owner? So.
Wow. 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 That's so beautiful. And I'm so glad I get the opportunity to interview you because I think I love knowing people's story. And I think our stories are always so important and pivotal to what we become and how we're able to connect to other people. And it's just beautiful to hear how all of this has unfolded. You know, do you so like people listening, I'm thinking, and when someone feels guided to do something, when they feel guided to start something of their own, or they feel like that really strong nudge, like you felt about taking that marketing class, right? I try to tell people that if it gets that strong, that it's really grabbed your intention. And especially if you feel it like in your gut, so to speak, like, gosh, I can't quite put my finger on why I'm feeling so drawn to this, but I do. What advice would you give to somebody out there that maybe is sort of having that feeling right now? They're feeling very drawn to something, but they're like, I don't know. I've always had this 9 to 5 job, and you know, uh, what if, and all of those kinds of things. Is there any advice you could give to them?
Yes, definitely. I would say most importantly, I mean, women more than men, we are like so highly intuitive, right? So, but we have been conditioned to ignore ourselves. And that is such an unfortunate thing. I think I think that there's a lot by design, so we don't realize how powerful we are and all of that. But I think something to understand is there's such a difference between ego and soul. And working with the coach and mentor that I worked with in the monthly program I was really able to understand the difference. Okay, so the ego is going to go, this is going to make me $1 million. This is going to save me. This is my life raft. This can get me out. The ego is going to search for an answer, a dopamine hit, a quick fix. The soul is going to be move. Let's go. We don't know what's next. So I try to think of like, say you're standing on the Grand Canyon. Okay, we're not facing death, we're facing adventure, okay? Your higher self, your soul is like, let's go. We've got a parachute, don't worry. Let's go. This is going to be the most beautiful ride. Whatever. Your ego is going to go, you can't do it. You're too scared. The ego is a negative thing. So when you're following it, ask yourself, am I being soul led? You'll know, because will it be scary? Yes, that's what I want to normalize. It will be so
Yes.
freaking scary, but it will also have a sense of peace with it. And again, it won't be like a save me, pick me energy. It's not That's
Mhm.
not it. Yes, I do believe we get to be paid for our gifts and passions. Yes, that is the byproduct of alignment, but it's not, I'm doing this to get this.
Right. And our
But you
ego,
have to be honest with yourself.
sure, sure. Our ego often is trying to keep us safe in a physical manner, right? So like, nope, you could fall and kill yourself,
Mhm.
or something like that, right? And so I get it, but like you said, when it's soul led, I think what starts to happen sometimes is when we are very disconnected from our body, whether we are living in the ethers because it feels really good up there, and or we're all in our head over and over, it makes it harder to know what our soul's saying. Like it it's not as oftentimes people will be like, well, how do you like talk to spirit all the time and your higher self? And I'm like, that took years and years and years of practice and a lot of like healing pieces of myself. Every piece I heal for myself, it makes it easier to hear what I'm being guided to do, whether it's audibly here, just have a knowing, however.
Mhm.
And we have to be able to give ourselves that opportunity. If you're listening and you feel like, but I don't know what my soul's trying to tell me. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Have you been able to take 5 seconds for yourself in the last 5 years? Like,
Mm.
let's start there. Let's
Absolutely.
start there. And it is a practice. It takes some time to get to that point where you can feel that, for some people. But like
Mhm.
she said, if you are feeling that strong nudge, like there is a reason. And intuition is a gift and it is a beautiful gift that resides in all of us. And if something's coming through you, there's a reason. Just like you, Lindsay, like I'm so grateful that I don't even live in Asheville, but I am so grateful that you answered the call.
Thank you.
And I know that there are so many people in your community that are also so grateful because me just being in Southern Illinois, being able to watch on Instagram and feel into the energy that takes place at these community events is one of the most beautiful things. So I can't imagine what it's like in person at these events as well. I mean, this is a big deal and community is so important. And just like, if anybody's listening that, is going through trying to go into sobriety and that kind of thing, community is so important. You don't necessarily have to go see a therapist or you don't necessarily have to do AA, but please don't try to do it alone because that's
Mhm.
not what we were created for. We were
Absolutely.
created for support to follow us. Just real quick for those that don't know what a beauty boost event is and
Mhm.
what it looks like, and what you do there. Say I called you and I was like, hey, I just heard there's a beauty boost event. I don't know what this is. Is this like some abandoned building I just go to? And then what happens when I go in? Can you explain that for us?
Absolutely, yes. So each month we have a different theme of event and a different style, like a social gathering, empowerment workshop, a fitness event. So intentionally different styles of events each month to keep it, interesting. I will tell you my last event and then my next event. So my May event was called the Wellness Edit. And what we said was come and craft your own evening of wellness. So the attendee would purchase a ticket. My specific event was on an equine farm here in the area. So, this beautiful horse farm, they do equine meditation and they do yoga and they do retreats. So, just a very beautiful place. And at this event, we had different workshops. So the attendees could, again, craft their own wellness evening, right? We had a workshop that was doing Kundalini yoga, a nervous system reset. We had one that was doing what we call Intro to Legree. She has a Legree place, which is similar enough to Pilates. They have different platforms that they use. Board. It's a Legree machine. But she was able to kind of mock up what it would be like and then, chat about her business. So you could pop into the different workshops if you'd like. And then additionally, while the workshops are going on, there's one like every 30 minutes. we had 15 local women-owned health and wellness themed businesses represented. And what keeps Beauty Boost different than a market, many, many things, but we do what we call experience stations. So at a market, you might walk up, grab somebody's pamphlet, cool, they do massage, whatever. At our events, we are giving the business owners an opportunity to connect directly with the women, the attendees, and there's an energetic exchange. So you're sitting with them. In the instance of a massage therapist at the event, she might be doing a 2-minute mini massage. And in order to get the mini massage, you would put down your email, which is great because then the business is wearing her email address. Or she might say, you know, follow me on Instagram for a chance to win. And maybe she's giving away a massage, but you know, she's growing her social media, she is growing her email, and then the attendee is receiving a little, what we say, touch, taste, or tease of what the business does. And then the goal then is for hopefully the attendee would love that connection, right? That energetic exchange. Like, oh my gosh, this woman's brilliant. She's amazing. I loved my conversation with her. I want to book X, Y, and Z with her. So it gives the businesses an opportunity to book customers and clients on the spot, but it also gives the women opportunities to connect. But typically our businesses offer a perk or promo to the Beauty Boost community. So if they say, book your massage today and get $20 off or whatever, which is great because then it gets them into their brick and mortar, right? So the women get to go around and pop into all sorts of different things. I mean, we had a gal with a red light therapy bed doing a nervous system reset. We had a chiropractor doing a neurological scan. There was a flower essence. If you're familiar with like essences, they're kind of like a tincture, essentially. She was doing like an oracle pull and then having you like pick the tincture that would then support like where you're at in your life. So the attendees get all these really fun mini experiences, but then they're directly connecting with the businesses, and then the businesses are growing. So, but then the businesses are also connecting with each other. And that's been really fun to watch the collaboration that comes out of these events, because a lot of these businesses, let's say a local gym, they might like to have a wellness evening once or twice a year for their community. And then they're going to go, okay, now I just met this chiropractor. I just met this acupuncturist. I just met, blah, blah, blah. So also watching the collaboration that comes out of it. Circling back to the attendees, we always put in some sort of fun way for women to connect in addition. So in the instance of the wellness edit, I had a friendship bracelet like station, and the women were in the corner, on like this very cute like couch, and just this like little, this farm is so beautiful. But so they're just visiting, making friendship bracelets. I think anytime making friends, anytime we can bring in like the inner child, a craft, something whimsical, something very playful, it allows women to kind of come down a little bit too and relax a little bit more. And they're like, all right, this isn't so serious, right? We need that in our lives. So that was my wellness event. And then my next event is called Hippy Dippy Summer Social. And at our socials, at no given moment are we all brought together to do the same thing. So it's very much an ebb and flow in the evening. Again, always having experience stations. We will always, always, always have experience stations at one of our social gatherings, having no specific theme. We'll have all sorts of events or all sorts of businesses represented, versus some of our events are a little bit more curated with the specific business matching the theme, because then we're marketing to that attendee. Like our fitness event that we do twice a year, sometimes we'll see at the fitness event, there are certain women that like just come to our fitness events. They are very much like into the weightlifting world and, whatever. So we will see them at that event. Some women, they buy a year pass, $99. That gets them into every event for the year, which is wild, because our events range anywhere from $25 to $40 in the evening, depending on the theme of the event and, what's all included, swag bags, food, whatever. But so, yeah, we always bring in a way to connect with each other, to make friends, and then, connect with local businesses. Asheville being a transient city, people are always moving here. So I'll meet women that find me on Instagram and I'm like, and then I send them my welcome message and we get to chatting and they're like, I just moved here. And I'm like, cool, I have an event coming up. Like I can plug you into a community of women. I can get you, your chiropractor, your acupuncturist, your hairstylist.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine moving somewhere and like getting to find all of those things? I'm like, and then in just at a cool place too. So yes, it's really special. It's very fulfilling, but just watching women get out of their comfort zones and, the conversations that I have with women, I almost didn't come. I'm so glad I did. One gal who was actually coming over to my house on Saturday for a girls' night. She almost didn't come to one of the events and she had messaged me and I was like, just come as you are. Who cares? Nobody cares what you wear. Just show up. And she showed up in like leggings and a hoodie. And she's like, I never felt uncomfortable once, even though I was slightly underdressed. I'm like, there is no underdressed.
Right.
We tell ourselves that there is no, it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's not a thing, and specifically we only have one event that some women might dress up for. It's called the Entrepreneur Experience, where we have a panel of women, local entrepreneurs, and they will, speak on a panel. So we market to, either women in business or even with a side hustle or women looking to have their own business. Come in here, the ebbs and flows and all of the things. But that event, some women wear blazers too, but if they want, you don't have to. But other than that, it's very much just come as you are and allow yourself to be in the room.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Okay. So now we just have a couple quick rapid fire questions. And then we'll get to our closing. But so real quick, morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
What's one daily practice you would never skip?
My skincare.
What's your favorite way to raise your vibration?
Dancing.
What book has impacted your life the most? Can be an audiobook.
You Have the Magic by Haley Hoffman Smith. She also is the EFT tapping.
That's beautiful. What does beauty mean to you now?
Beauty is so much more than external. It is feeling good in your own skin, feeling worthy of taking 5 minutes for yourself to have a skincare routine, even if it's just 2 products, it doesn't matter, but giving yourself that permission to pour into yourself, because when you do, you feel better, right? Everybody will benefit from you taking that time to yourself and giving yourself that permission to whatever that is for you. Hair brushing, dry brushing, skincare, whatever that is to you, pouring into yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. So this is the last rapid fire, but what advice would you give to your 13-year-old self?
Advice. Oh man, there's so many things, but I would say at the end of the day, and this is, I do have a teenage daughter, so it's interesting how motherhood is a mirror as well, right? And I'm like, what would I have needed to hear? I would say never stop discovering yourself. Never. You never fully know yourself, because I'm not saying we should always be all healing. That's probably not healthy either. But as we heal, we do peel back layers, and then there's a new version of ourselves. What does she like? What is she into? Maybe you're a little bit more audacious. What would she be willing to do? Maybe the fear's a little bit less at that next level. I mean, it always exists, but it's a different level. But hands down, never stop discovering yourself.
I love that so much. Oh my goodness. So, Lindsay, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Your story is a reminder that healing doesn't always have to feel like a crisis, even though it can be very heavy at times. Sometimes it begins with a quiet whisper that says, is there more available for me? Your courage to choose yourself, to face difficult wounds, to embrace sobriety, to create a community for other women is so inspiring. Before we wrap up, please tell our listeners where they can connect with you, learn more about the Beauty Beast, and how they can also get a ticket to an upcoming event.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for hosting me. This was so wonderful and really beautiful in a reminder of some of the things and just revisiting some of the stories because life keeps moving. So
Right.
even revisiting some of these things has just been really beautiful. So thank you for that. You can connect with me personally directly on Instagram, Lindsay, Lindsay, celebrates life. And on there, I just kind of share random things like get out of your own way. I share videos of why life is beautiful and they're sometimes really mundane things. And you're just like, dang, I needed that reminder. So I just try to make that a really positive, uplifting corner of the internet where I like to do things where I give people an opportunity to shout themselves out and to celebrate themselves. And with that being said, sometimes in that celebrating yourself, I remind people like maybe you're just in a dark place and getting out of bed and making your bed today was a huge thing. So allow yourself to give yourself permission. It doesn't always have to be these monumental things, especially as women. So that's my personal Instagram. And then you can also connect with the Beauty Boost Asheville. So it's the Beauty Boost _ Asheville. And if you're here in the area, in the Asheville or Western North Carolina area and want to come to an event, send me a message and let me know you heard this on the podcast. I would love to get you a ticket to the event. But also remember that the Beauty Boost is in 35 cities nationwide. So you can go directly on our website, thebeautyboost.net, and click cities and see all the different cities. And then I do also want to let you know if you have more interest in the Beauty Boost and potentially starting a Beauty Boost in your city, reach out to me directly and I can connect you with Rachel, the founder. We're constantly bringing on new cities. We've got I think Albany, New York, St. Petersburg, Florida, Boston. I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, we just had 5 new cities come on, and it's just at the end of the day, it's a community for women to feel empowered, healthy, and beautiful. And just creating really fun experiences and working with local businesses. So if that sounds up your alley, I can connect you with Rachel, the founder. She's brilliant. It's an amazing business. It's exceptionally fulfilling and it serves a much needed purpose in your community. So I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Sacred Soul Sisters. If today's conversation touched your heart, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a sister, a friend, or a woman in your life who may need this message. One of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is that healing was never meant to happen alone. Whether you're navigating sobriety, rebuilding confidence, healing old wounds, starting a business, or simply trying to remember who you are, beneath all the roles that you carry, there's a community waiting to support you. Remember, you're not broken. You're just continuing to become the authentic version of you. And every step you take toward yourself is sacred. Until next time, keep trusting your journey, keep following your intuition, and keep shining your light. This is Justina, and you've been listening to the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast. Sending you so much love and so many blessings. Hey. Don't forget to head on over to angelreikijourney.com, click on the banner at the top of the page, and sign up to make sure you get the first notification when the tickets go on sale for the Bend, Oregon retreat. It's April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd of 2027. Don't forget, get all of your requests for vacation time, all of your daycare, get everything lined up. This is going to be an epic event, and I cannot wait to see you there. Hi, before you go, hey, I just want to say thank you again. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for sharing this space with me today, and I hope that you can feel the sense of community. every time you listen to one of these episodes, you're in community with not only me, but everybody else that's listening too. And in that beautiful frequency that's created, we get to have our hearts infused with the love and peace and the hope that we have for each other. So thank you so much for that. So as you move back into your day, I invite you to take a moment, just soften your shoulders, breathe into your heart, and notice what shifted for you in this conversation. How do you feel? I hope amazing. And if this episode resonated, please follow the Sacred Soul Sisters podcast. Take a minute to leave a review. Your words help this healing ripple reach other beautiful souls who are quietly longing for support, remembrance, and community. And stay connected. You can visit my website, angelreikijourney.com. You can book an Angel Reiki session there. You can see some of the other events that we have going on. And if you scroll to the bottom, sign up for the newsletter where I share soulful reflections, upcoming offers, and gentle invitations to reconnect with yourself. You can also find me on Instagram at Angel Reiki Journey for inspiration. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm over there too. And remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to carry all this alone. You are deeply supported. You are divinely guided, and you are worthy of ease and joy and magnetizing moments in your life. And I'm so excited for that. Until we meet again, take care of your beautiful heart and know that it's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to offer self-love to yourself, and it's okay to receive the love and abundance this universe wants to give you. So I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.